Lately, Six Flags has been quietly slaughtering rides at nearly every park, some of them being fan favorites. People have been noticing that many rides have gone missing from park websites and asking parks on social media if these rides have been removed. And a lot of big rides like Harley Quinn's Spinsanity at Six Flags Over Texas, Excalibur at Six Flags St. Louis, and Parachute Tower at Six Flags Great Adventure have been confirmed to have been removed by the parks on social media. Six Flags Darien Lake has also seen 2 rides go missing from its website. Those being Rowdy's Heave Ho, a lift tower where guests pulled themselves up and gently came back down. The other ride is Big Kahuna, a mammoth raft slide. Neither of these rides have officially been confirmed to be removed, but given the trends across the chain, it's safe to assume that these rides will likely not be operating at the park in the future, or at least at the very minimum next season. I have heard rumors that Rowdy's Heave Ho was never on the park's website to begin with, but I don't find that likely considering that the ride has been listed on the park's map in past years. I heard the ride needed some refurbishments, and I guess the park wasn't interested in that. Big Kahuna's closure isn't surprising to me. This slide was closed all of 2022, and I heard that the conveyor belt for the slide snapped and basically just destroyed itself. And I've never personally rode the slide, but it looked really beat down, and I've heard from people who have rode it that the structure was in really bad shape and it felt like it was going to collapse at any second. I don't think that it's really a big deal that these rides specifically are being removed, especially since Salim and his employees have been working on cost cutting ever since he took over. These rides likely cost too much to operate based on the ridership, which is fine. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but if this trend continues with Six Flags removing these older rides, Darien Lake may have a bit of a problem on their hands. Before I dive into the reasoning behind that, make sure you do me a big favor by leaving a like to show your support for the channel and subscribe for more Darien Lake content coming soon. With that said, let's talk about a few concerning trends that I've picked up on. For strictly the amusement park, since 2015, Darien Lake has removed 6 rides and added 3. 3 water slides have been added to the water park, and Big Kahuna would be the first removal since 2014. The water park is not of concern to me, as it's been clear that the park has been investing in it accordingly, most recently last year with the addition of Wahoo Wave. I think that Big Kahuna will get a replacement sooner rather than later, considering that the water park is a little tight on space and that slide has a huge footprint. The concern I have is for the dry park. First, it should be noted that Darien Lake is only operated for 4 seasons, 5 if you count 2020 where the park never opened under Six Flags, and they have removed 4 rides in that time period. Those rides being Giant Wheel, Grizzly Run, Twister, and now Heave Ho. With Salim Basul's new vision for the company that targets cost cutting, the trend of ride removals is likely to continue. Darien Lake's management has remained relatively unchanged even before Six Flags acquired the park, and they have also been keen on cutting costs to maximize profits the best they can. The best example I can give to this is that they only run 1 train on all the coasters at all times, with the exception of the park's Gerstlauer Eurofighter Tantrum. They do this in spite of the fact that they have 2 trains for coasters like Viper and Predator. And on the days that Darien Lake is really packed, the park knows that they're going to be busy, mainly because these crowds are inspired by concerts or big events. So there's really no excuses there. Anyways, out of the rides that have been removed from the park, 4 of them were built before 1990, meaning that they're around 30 years old or older when they were removed. This may not sound too concerning, but the issue is that Darien Lake is down to 35 dry rides, which is a relatively small collection, considering that Darien Lake is one of the largest parks in the chain by land. Out of those 35 rides, 12 of them were built before 1990. 2 of those rides are roller coasters in Viper and Hoot and Hollower. The service life remaining on Viper is unknown, but Vortex at Kings Island, a coaster of the same make and model, opened 5 years before Viper did, and it was said to have reached the end of its service life in 2019. Kings Island has had a much larger attendance than Darien Lake, so it wore the ride down quicker than Viper would be. But Viper was run with 2 or 3 trains up until the last decade or 2, so who knows how long until Six Flags pulls the plug. It also doesn't help that the ride's manufacturer, Aerodynamics, is defunct, making it much harder to get parts for the ride. That's another common theme among some of the rides of the park, is that their manufacturers are defunct, so it's hard to get parts. On the other hand, Hoot and Hollower could probably operate for a while, as the manufacturer of the roller coaster Zier is still in business. The Grand Prix Speedway is a go-kart ride that has been on the chopping block for a while in my opinion, and it doesn't operate much. It's an upcharge attraction, and I've heard Salim wants to get rid of these, so I wouldn't be surprised if this goes very soon. Corn Popper is a park original built by Huss, likely to require a refurbishment soon. The Grand Carousel was refurbished in 2013, so we're good there. Haymaker is a paratrooper ride that I don't know the status of. The same goes for Lasso, the park's wave swinger. But I honestly expect that something needs to be done with those rides at some point in the near future, whether that be a refurbishment or an eventual removal. Silver Bullet is a somewhat problematic enterprise ride built by Heinz Fitze. Sleigh Ride is a Mock Rides Matterhorn that did get some lighting work done on it, so I assume it's safe for now. And Tin Lizzy's is an aerodynamics antique car ride. Raccoon Rally is a small bumper car ride that I don't really know much about in terms of the state that it's in. Bear Valley Bumper Buggies is a 1981 Deuce Rides manufacturer's bumper car ride that, from my experiences on it, probably could use a refurbishment, but I don't think it's in dire need. Pirate is a Huss Pirate that just got a major refurbishment, so that ride is safe. I think the key thing to note here is that these rides are mostly family rides with the exception of the mini bumper cars Hoot and Hollower and Viper. If you were to take out all the rides that haven't been refurbished, you'd be sitting at a grand total of 6 family rides. Out of the 35 rides the park has, 9 of them are for kids only, so that leaves 26 left over. Take out those older family rides, and that leaves you with only 18 rides that adults can ride. Obviously that isn't going to happen, or at least not all at once, but if the park continues to pick off these older family rides, there's not going to be a lot left. The park got most of its family rides from being an American showcase for Huss rides in the early 80s, and a few others that are purchased by some of the park's earliest owners like Paul Snyder and Funtime. Other than that, there hasn't been a true consolidated effort with the exception of Rowdy's Ridge in 2012 to add family rides to the park. And Rowdy's Ridge only gave the park a grand total of 3 new family rides, one of which was Heave Ho, which appears to be being removed. I don't get how Salim Basul can say the new goal of Six Flags parks is to appeal to families when at Darien Lake, family rides are set to keep getting removed in the years to come unless some serious money is spent to refurbish them, which goes against his cost-cutting mentality. Another solution to this problem is just to add more family rides. But for whatever reason, Salim hasn't done any of that yet, with the exception of adding dueling Skyline kiddie coasters to a couple parks. And yeah, I understand it's still early in his tenure as CEO, and he did make it clear in one of his more recent earnings calls that he does plan to add some rides to the park soon. Beyond these smaller additions, where Darien Lake is ranked as maybe the 11th or 12th park in the food chain in terms of addition priorities in the past with Six Flags, so this may prevent this from ever coming into play. Either way, I think some serious money is going to have to be spent to keep families engaged at Darien Lake in the next 5 to 10 years. I hope that park management and corporate realizes this, especially if they want to appeal to families in the future at Darien Lake. The lack of fresh attractions for families is very apparent in the park, and even though the water park has a few options for families, it doesn't really give much of an incentive for families to spend a lot of time in the dry park to spread out the crowds and increase in-park spending. And the less time that families spend in the park, the more money the park loses out on. And plus, the water park is only open for a little over 3 months out of the year. I would like to see some refurbishments to old rides at the park, but I'd also like to see a few modern flat rides be added to the park, as all the additions we've seen in the last 10 years have been heavily thrill or water park based. I think in the future I may do an analysis on which rides the park should remove and which ones they should refurbish, along with what they could add to fill in the gaps. So if you'd be interested in that, let me know in the comments down below. Also, tell me what your thoughts are on Darien Lake's situation and the chain situation as a whole with removing rides. Make sure to leave a like if you enjoy this video and subscribe for more Darien Lake content coming soon. With all that being said, I'd like to thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.